the people behind them. Casey Cares is the intersection of the nonprofit and the profit communities, making Kansas City a better place to live, work, and play. This Casey Cares segment is brought to you by the Ewing Marion Kaufman Foundation, www.kaufman.org. I'm Ruth Baum-Biggis. Since she was a child, Brenda Mott has always created things from materials others have tossed aside. While her motivation back then was the magic of art, today Brenda's efforts to reuse, recycle, and repurpose are the heart and soul of Scraps KC, a nonprofit focused on diverting items from landfills and giving them renewed life. Since its beginning in 2016, Scraps KC has diverted 400 tons from landfills and has brought a new concept of homeless renewal. Brenda joins us to share her journey leading this colorful nonprofit. Brenda, thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks so much for having me, Ruth.
And I can't wait to hear about you were creating all kinds of things as a kid and how this transition. Okay, I'm going to have a nonprofit and we're going to do this kind of work. Tell us a little bit about your journey to this point.
Sure. So I grew up with parents who were Depression era children and also lived through World War II as young adults and were very poor. And everything was reused and everything was respected. It was handed down from brother to sister and so on and so forth. And so I grew up in a family that had just reused a lot, whether we needed to or not. Everything was mended, fixed, repaired, found new life for in another way. So that's how I grew up. And then as a teacher, of course, I had to figure out ways to use items to support the education process without spending a lot of money. And so I started shopping at my first creative reuse center about 35 years ago, maybe a little more. And so that's when I found out, about industrial waste and how they could have new life and things that businesses made and probably didn't use or didn't need anymore or kind of past their prime. And so I found that very intriguing and like to find new ways to integrate those tools into my classroom for use. And then fast forward many, many years, about 10 years ago, my husband and I started serving the homeless on the streets. And one of the homeless gentlemen asked us for a job. And so or something to do during the day so he could be purposeful. And so we provided this space. We opened Scraps KC, and that was about 6.5, almost 7 years ago that we opened it. And it has just been a whirlwind of fun ever since then. So and the gentleman who asked us for something to do is still with us. And he is not on the streets anymore, but he comes in and he sweeps a couple times a week and helps us sort things. And so it's wonderful to see how the progression of the homeless has also improved their lives.
Well, I liked that term, homeless renewal.
Yes.
What a great phrase to talk about, incorporating that. I want to get back to how you really started it. You made it sound very easy, and many in the nonprofit community know it's not always that easy. But let's talk about this concept of bringing the homeless into, or the unhomed. I know that's kind of a change in terminology that's being used today, but how really you've been able to pull that and incorporate that in a very positive way.
So if you think about it, the homeless are actually, which is a term that they use, they call themselves homeless. So that's the term that we use. They actually are some of the most creative individuals that I know with other people's trash. They will create these amazing living situations for themselves that really are incredibly interesting. They actually have a lot of information on, they build culverts to divert water flow into their camp, or they create some kind of kitchen space where they have rebar over the top and pots and pans hanging from it so they can use those on their campfire. The way they make a portable toilet for themselves. I mean, they're just so creative and inventive. We actually had a gentleman here who worked with us, volunteered with us for a while. And he took an old car generator, and he lived at the Missouri River, put the generator into the river, hooked some wire up to a car battery and wire up to his camp. And he, with the current of the water, created electricity that actually put a light in his camp and a coffee pot maker that would work. It's ingenious. I mean, I don't know many other people who can think of those things. So, what we see as potential in the homeless, it just takes trust and care and love to bring that out in them. And we see them grow in their self-esteem. And our vision here is to transform the unwanted into something of value. And that could be people or things. And so it's really important to us to really spend that time creating value in their lives for them and to see that they are of value.
So how do you go about that? How do you connect in a way that is respectful of the human person you're dealing with?
Absolutely.
As opposed to, that's somebody that, I don't know, I don't want to deal with, whatever.
Sure. Well, it's been a long time that we've been out on the streets. We go out every single Saturday and have for the last 8 or 9 years to the same place, to the same location. So they know that we're coming and they expect us to be there. And we always show up. First of all, that's the first and most important thing, is to show up and to show up when you say so. And then we build that trust with them. I mean, we spend, it doesn't sound like very long, but 30 minutes every Saturday, 35 maybe at the most. But, we build that trust with them with visiting, bringing out coffee, bringing supplies that they need. And I hate to say it, but my name is really well known on the streets. So, they know. Somebody will ask somebody else who's homeless, where can I get or how can I find? And they'll say, go see Brenda and she'll make you work if you need something, but she will give it to you if you put in your time to work. And so, it's those kinds of things, just primarily the trust building. And by being down there every Saturday, that's our platform to invite them to come and volunteer with us. And we don't work with a lot at one time. We don't have 15 or 20 homeless people in here. We dive very deep into individuals. And so although we do have several homeless that come in throughout the year, usually 100, 150 come in and out, we really, those that stay with us for long periods of time, those are the ones that we see, such growth and possibilities for them, and provide them with things that they need, whether it's help finding housing or food stamps or whatever medical needs they have. We help them navigate those systems.
Now, was this part of your mission in the beginning?
It was. It was actually really why we did start it. I've always wanted to have a creative reuse center because I love seeing what can be made out of other people's byproducts, but it was really the homeless that kind of spurred me on to start it. We were really passionate about serving on the streets, and for them to ask for something to do and to be purposeful. I opened Scraps KC almost 7 years ago, and it was just me and 4 homeless guys volunteering with me. And they would help me paint, and they would help me lift boxes and sort things and, hang lights and all different kinds of things that they were skilled at. And they were also there with me, and that was a big deal for both of us. Me being the only person in the store, it was nice to have the company. And then also they enjoyed the opportunity to be able to give back because they felt that they wanted to do something for the times that they had seen us out on the streets.
Would guess too, there was a point of seeing value in what others didn't see value in. Here you are collecting things that people decided they didn't need anymore. And perhaps people feel those that are homeless, they don't have value, human.
Absolutely.
I'm making a big judgment, and I don't mean to do that, but I think kudos to you. That's an interesting mix and a way to work. So I applaud you. I don't want to get too far asunder on that, but I just thought it was such an interesting component of Scraps KC. So tell us, how you work, where you're at, and how does this operation help in the community?
Sure. So we are located in Midtown, right off Southwest Boulevard and 31st Street, in a light industrial area. We have about 13,500 square feet of space, which is wonderful, but it's never enough space. There's always wonderful new donations coming in from our community members. Businesses that are primarily remote have found that they have a lot of things in their closets that are just sitting there. And so they donate them to us, and we're able to donate them for free to teachers. And so there's community members, buy products from manufacturers and offcuts. We get some really crazy, unusual things. And, we have artists and teachers and families and do-it-yourselfers that come in looking for some kind of treasure that they can include on whatever they're making. And so people donate every day that we're open, and we get about 2,000 to 5,000 pounds a day, a week, and sometimes a day. So it's pretty amazing. We brought in 4,000 pounds the other day from clearing out 6 floors of an office building. It was a lot of stuff, but it's all brand new primarily. And we have some wonderful things that we can provide to teachers, like whiteboards and projectors and all kinds of amazing things. So everything's donated within the store, and then it is hand sorted and packaged and priced, and then put out on the floor for anybody to come in and shop. We have an amazing amount of volunteer energy here. We have 65 recurring volunteers every single month. And we get about 300 visits a month from volunteers. So whether it's a large group coming in, or whether it is, a mom, a child, and a grandparent, we love generational volunteering. All those kinds of things help us move these things faster from the diversion point to actually getting them on the floor and into other people's hands.
How do you bring in your volunteers? By that, in recruitment, is there something you look for in your volunteers? And then I'd love for you to tell us how people who are interested can volunteer.
Sure. We always love new volunteers. So we take children as young as 3 years old to be volunteers. We believe that it's really important for children to learn to give back at an early age, that their community is important and that there are people who have needs. And so we want them to learn how to be a good volunteer. And really that starts with coming in as a family and volunteering together. So, and then you can be as old as you want to be, young at heart, but as old as you want to be to volunteer. And really, most of our volunteers have come through us either by shopping here or by word of mouth. And that's a really special thing for us, that people value us enough that they want to send their friends here to volunteer. And we have, people who just measure and roll fabric. We got 50,000 pounds of textile materials last year. And all they do is measure, roll fabric, get it out on the floor for us so people can use it. We have people who just kind of sort through stuff and make sure that it's in the right category that we house it in. People who price. We have, students finishing volunteer service hours, or college students if they're in a special program that they need hours. So we have a variety of people that come in. It's super easy to volunteer. We have a form right there on our website under volunteers, and you just fill it out. And we have a wonderful volunteer coordinator named Meg, and she'll come and give you a call or email you and let you know when a good time to come in and volunteer is.
And that's scrapskc.org.
Yes, that is correct.
So there's your commercial, everybody. Now you know where to go if you want to volunteer, if you want to donate, I'm sure. So you had mentioned earlier, I thought, that teachers can come in and they get supplies for free.
Yes, they do. So in the last 6 years, we actually have done a summer program where we ask schools to donate their unwanted supplies. There are so many supplies that go in the trash, honestly, that have never been used. And we ask the schools to collect them and then bring them to us. And then we have volunteers who come all summer long and clean and repurpose those. And we give them for free to teachers in July for 2 days in July. Well, we are piloting a new program this year, and we're super excited about that. Our program is going to serve teachers year round. And so,
that's great.
Yes. And so we already have approximately 25,000 pounds of supplies that are ready to go. And we haven't even received the school supplies that are unwanted. So we're looking forward to getting about another 20,000 pounds of those. And we will have volunteers cleaning and repurposing them all summer long. And then in July, we will open our new program up. At this point, we are able to serve approximately 150 teachers for the year. And then we will be going out and talking to corporations about helping us fund this and sponsor this for teachers so that we can actually continue this year after year where teachers can get those supplies that they need all year rather than just at the beginning of the year.
We're talking to Brenda Mott. She is founder and executive director of Scraps KC. I years ago when I was, student teaching, I remember there's always been a scramble, I think, for school supplies. So what a wonderful resource in the community. And I hope there are corporations listening, so more teachers will get that opportunity. Can you share with us, though, how the store works for just anybody else who wants to come in?
Absolutely. Well, sometimes some of our artists call it the playground because they walk in the door and really it's just an open warehouse space and it's just filled with a variety of items, anything from arts and crafts supplies, textiles, a few school and office supplies, and then miscellaneous supplies. And so we have people who will come in and spend a few minutes because they know exactly what they want, where it's located, and they'll go pick it out. But we have others who come weekly and will spend a couple hours in there, just kind of perusing everything and finding what they need. So it's very simple just to come in. We have a wonderful staff who's ready to greet you and help you in any way that's needed. We have a donation space within our warehouse. We also have an education space, which is right near the front door. And it's a wonderful opportunity for your kids to play and learn about the environment while they're in there playing. We also have our plastics recycling in that area where we take Chateau milk lids, disassembled markers that we actually shred up and make new things out of. So we make bowls and we make letter key rings and we make weaving looms and paint palettes and all different kinds of things out of recycled plastics. And then we also have a brand new machine called a felt loom machine. And that actually takes scraps of fabric and puts them back together to create a new piece of fabric, which is textiles are one of the greatest landfillers at this point due to fast fashion. And so we're trying to find alternative ways to educate people about that issue and demonstrate ways that this fabric can be put back together and create a new piece of fabric that's more sustainable because it's scraps that we've already had around. So it's a really exciting machine. We do have it for rent. We have classes for it. So it's a wonderful opportunity for people not only to just learn about the environment and the problems that we have in it, but also learn new ways that they can reuse things and also see how machinery is engaged in the process of keeping our earth more sustainable.
Now, can I just come and shop for things? And my question then too is, how do you price?
Sure.
Because you're taking, quote, used stuff or repurposed stuff, we should say.
So it's basically a thrift store model is what it is. Anybody is welcome to shop. And we, like I said before, have so many different kinds of people that come in and it's wonderful, all different ages. And then the way that it's priced is it either has a price on it or it is priced by weight or it is priced by filling a bag. So for instance, we have seashells, and that is 10 cents an ounce for however many seashells you want to get. And then we have scraps of quilting fabric, and you can fill a bag for $4 of quilting fabric. So, different ways depending upon what the items are, but more often than not, it has a price tag on it.
Now, do you want stuff just from my house? I mean, what are the kinds of things you want donated? I want to make sure the audience is clear. I don't want somebody to show up with a dump truck of stuff maybe you can't use.
Well, we are very clear on our website about what we can and cannot take. We have recognized over the years that we need to keep things moving. It can't sit on the floor too long because we have so much coming in every single week. So first is checking the website to see what we're accepting and what we're not accepting, and that changes quarterly. And then you can bring things from your home. We don't take just from manufacturers or businesses. People have lots of craft supplies at home. The things we do take regularly would be craft supplies, art supplies, and textiles. Those are our primary items of interest to our customers.
I like that. Items of interest. That's a nice way of saying we don't want just your junk. We want stuff that we could really use.
I do. We did take a truckload of paper clips. We had 4 Gaylords. And a Gaylord is a 4x4 by 4 foot box. And we took 4 of those from a federal government agency that I'm not allowed to say who it is. And they had collected 20 years worth of paper clips. And it was 4 Gaylords worth of paper clips. And about 6 months ago, we finally got rid of them all. We had them for about 3 years. But those are the kinds of things that shouldn't go in the landfill. They should be used, and they were perfectly fine. Now, we found a penny or two and some rubber bands and other goodies inside there, like jelly packets, but it was a wonderful donation that was really useful to a lot of people.
You're up and running now, 6-7 years. I mean, you're really into this. You are established. What keeps you up at night in running a nonprofit?
Oh, everything. I'm sure that's what most nonprofit people would say. And no, what really keeps us up at night is taking care of the homeless that we serve. We have a lot of issues, especially lately. Housing, lack of housing, medical problems. We have several getting different types of medical procedures done that we have to take them to the appointments, to the surgeries, to, making sure that they don't eat beforehand, making sure that we're in constant contact while they're recovering at their home, and making sure they're taking their medicine appropriately. And these are bigger issues.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, our world and our environment is really important, but these are people who are here right now that we also care a lot about, and we want to make sure that they're feeling safe and cared for, and that they're getting their needs met that will keep them safe and healthy.
So your model to quote, stay in business is a mixture of what in terms of financial support?
Our store is a primary source of income for us. We do have a few grants that we've applied for and have received over the years. And then obviously we will be looking for significant donations for our school supply pilot program. And so, so far we've been really fortunate. The community has embraced us not only with donations, but with support in what we do and supporting us by coming and shopping here. So that has been tremendous. But, like every nonprofit, finances are always important. We want to make sure that we hire quality people to work here who can speak the many languages that we need to speak, whether it's love or grief or, the environment, whatever it is. We often get people bringing in their mother's sewing materials, and mom's either passed away or moved to a nursing home or assisted living. And our staff's purpose is to be there to listen to those stories. So we want to make sure that we have a staff that has a heart and a passion for other people as well. And so, can't do that if you don't have the finances to go along with it. So it's just continually working to build a better community, create this as a safe space for all members of our community to be a part of.
I really like how you used, when you started to say different languages, I thought, oh, Spanish, Portuguese, Somali, and you didn't.
Mm-mm.
You talked about emotional language, which I just think is really cool. I don't know that maybe a lot of people do think that way. That was just eye-opening for me. So thank you for sharing it that way.
It's my
maybe
pleasure.
more of us should think that way, right?
Right. Well,
right.
It was a story we often heard from my grandfather, who was an immigrant and had a small store, and he would actually speak the foreign languages. And I never understood of the people who would come in, and I never quite understood it until we opened this. And our languages are always something that meets the needs of our people where they are.
Well, that's wonderful. All right. I know we're getting near the end of our conversation, but I have to ask, you're this creative, crafty person. How do you run things day by day? You have all this stuff all around you and not sit down and want to make something.
Well, I don't anymore because I'm sure most people walk in here and say, oh, this looks like my craft room. And it does look like what my craft room used to be. But when I live with it every day, I have wonderful staff members who now are much craftier and more creative than I am. But it's a real joy for me to be able to go around and visit with our customers and ask how they're going to use the items, and to talk with the children and give them more creative ideas, rather than you bought a trophy to set on your shelf. Well, did you know you can use tools to take that trophy apart and nail polish to paint it in your favorite team's colors? So just giving those ideas brings me such joy.
That's wonderful. Well, I'm glad you don't get too stuck there, but you do offer classes.
We do offer classes primarily for adults. We do have some parent and me classes or caregiver and me classes. And we do obviously a lot of felt loom, but we also do invisible sewing so people can learn new stitching. We do weaving. We also have a lot of professional development for teachers. So we're looking for those schools to come and visit our educational experiences and see what we can offer teachers at their district levels.
Well, kudos to you and Scraps KC. What a wonderful way to just repurpose and help and support people's creativity, keep things out of landfills, and help human beings. What could be better than that? Brenda, thank you so much. We're so glad you created this.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me on the show.
You bet. Thank you for joining us for KC Cares, Kansas City's nonprofit voice, produced by Charitable Communications. This KC Cares segment was brought to you by the Ewing Marion Kaufman Foundation, www.kaufman.org. To be a guest on KC Cares or underwriting opportunities, please visit our website, kccaresonline.org. We're a nonprofit too. Spread the love and find us on Facebook and Twitter at KC Cares Radio and Instagram at KC Cares Online. And catch us Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. on ESPN, 1510 a.m. and 94.5 FM. Thank you for joining us on KC Cares.